This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Alright, and welcome to the GSMC Sports Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network, and as always, I'm your host, Jesse Tapia, and for today's show, we're going to be talking Celtics dropping 4 in a row, talk about that crazy game last night, which was Tuesday night between them and the Lakers. We're going to talk about the rest of the games, Cavs losing again to the Spurs, and when I say again, I mean not just again to the Spurs, like losing to the Spurs again, but Cavs have just been, I don't know, they're a brutal team to watch right now, and it's pretty much like, you know, I've talked about it on yesterday's show, talked about the Cavs, talked about them calling out Kevin Love in their team meeting because they didn't think he was sick or whatever it was on Saturday. So the Cavs got a bunch of problems, but we'll talk about their game. We'll talk Pat Shurmur to the Giants, what that means for them, what that means for Case Keenum, I mean, because it could tie in what it means for Eli Manning, or what they could do in the offseason as far as plans, you know. We'll be talking Todd Haley to the Browns, talk about what that means for the Browns in that offense. I really like that move right there. And then for that fourth segment, as we always do, pretty much going to talk about anything else going on in sports. Just whatever crosses through my mind. We'll be making my picks for tonight's game. I think the Celtics are going to be on a back-to-back playing against the Clippers, so I mean, they don't really got to travel anywhere. But nonetheless, they've been playing bad basketball the last probably last week or so, I guess you could say. So let's start off with the Celtics game. This game was on 7:30 last night, Pacific time, 10:30 Eastern time. Man, I always think people on the East Coast got it bad because they got to stay up late to watch these games. But nonetheless, Los Angeles pulled this one out. Lakers beat them 108-107. For the Lakers, you had Julius Randle. He had 14 points, 14 rebounds, shot 6 of 12 in this game. Brandon Ingram, bad shooting night from him. 7 points, 4 assists. He did have 9 rebounds, though. He shot 2 of 11. Brook Lopez, 12 points. As I always tell you, the Lopez brothers just don't rebound. Brook Lopez only had two rebounds in this one. Let's see. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope dropped in 8 points, only 2 of 8 shooting. Off the bench is where the Lakers really got their bread and butter. Kyle Kuzma was pretty much the star of the game right there. Couldn't be stopped in the fourth quarter. Did whatever he wanted. He had 28 points, 4 rebounds, shot 10 of 16, 5 of 7 from the three-point line. And like I said, I think towards the end of the game, you had like Al Horford on him. Al Horford couldn't stop him. Just pretty much like even a guy like Marcus Smart on him just didn't really do much to stop him at all. So Kuzma was pretty much the story of the game last night. I mean, there was a couple of stories that we'll talk about, but let's get through these stats real quick. Jordan Clarkson, he had 22 points, 4 assists. He shot 8 of 17 off the bench. So really good bench production from the Lakers yesterday. As for those Boston Celtics, you had Al Horford with 13 points, 12 rebounds, shot 5 of 11, 3 of 5 from the three-point line. Jason Tatum, bad game from him. Only 4 points, did have 5 rebounds and no assists, shot 1 of 6, 1 of 3 from the three-point line. Kyrie Irving, he had 33 points in that one. He also had 4 assists, shot 13 of 24, 4 of 11 from the three-point line. Jaylen Brown, I guess it was an okay shooting night, not great, below average, I guess you could say. Yeah, below average shooting night. 9 points, only 2 rebounds, 2 assists, shot 4 of 11 and 1 of 5 from the three-point line. As for the bench, you had Marcus Morris with a nice 13 points, 7 rebounds, shot 6 of 11. Marcus Smart, 22 points, also had 8 assists. He shot 7 of 13, 4 of 10 from the three-point line. And then you had Terry Rozier with a nice little contribution off the bench with 9 points. He shot 4 of 7. All right. So this game, really, it was looking good for Boston in the first half. They were playing well. The Lakers were playing good basketball too, but like I said, you just had Boston. They really weren't giving up the lead at all and just playing solid defense throughout the entire first half. First quarter, I think, they only gave up 15 points to the Lakers. I think that was the lowest scoring output for the Lakers in the first quarter this season. But second half comes, and the Lakers are up for 31 points. Celtics only scored 21, so Lakers took the lead in the third, and then the fourth quarter comes, and like I said, you got Kyle Kuzma. No one could stop him. He's doing whatever he wants. He's hitting threes. He's driving in, and like I said, he's playing good defense. Just pretty much did everything in that fourth quarter. I was really surprised because if you remember on yesterday's podcast, go ahead and check that one out if you haven't. All right. I picked the Celtics to win because I thought that the Lakers wouldn't be, or actually, yeah, yesterday's podcast. I picked the Celtics to win because I didn't think that the Lakers would be all that good as far as on offense without Lonzo Ball running the show out there. But nonetheless, I mean, when you got a guy like Kyle Kuzma, who probably, I'm not sure where I rank Kyle Kuzma as a rookie right now. I think right now I still have it Ben Simmons, Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum. I know he did have a bad game, but it's just one game. And then I got probably, I guess you could go Kyle Kuzma at 4. I've been riding with Lauri Markkanen out there at the number 4 spot. So if I had to go top 5 rookies right now, it'd be Simmons, Mitchell, Tatum, Kuzma, and then Markkanen, and then Dennis Smith right there at number 6. All right, but nonetheless, like I said, Kuzma, big game from him. And one of the stories out from last night's game between those two was Marcus Smart. Against the Lakers too. There's a bunch of storylines in that game. It's just Lakers, I never noticed how bad it was, but that team can't shoot free throws to save their life. They would have hit, at least a few free throws, like half of the free throws that they shot in the last minute of the game. They would have had no problem pulling out the win. They still pulled it out, but it got a lot closer than it should have. But yeah, like I said, I think it was, who was it at the end? I think it was Kentavious Caldwell-Pope at the free throw line at the very end of the game. He misses 2 free throws. Marcus Smart picks up the rebound, takes it down the court. You got Kyrie Irving to the left. I think Al Horford's trailing, and then you got Terry Rozier who's open on the right side, on the right wing. And I'm watching like this dude's gonna pass it to Terry, right? He's gonna pass it to Terry. He's wide open, and sure enough, Marcus Smart. You live and you die by Marcus Smart here for the Celtics. All right, he takes it down instead of passing it to Kyrie, Horford giving it up to Horford, or giving it to an open Terry Rozier. Marcus Smart pulls up, shoots a 3, and he missed. All right, definitely should have passed the ball to Terry Rozier. Like, Marcus Smart, that's a weird player right there, okay? I was talking to my friends yesterday. If he's on your team, you love him. If he's not, then you hate him, all right? And even Celtics fans, I think they're starting to get a little tired of him, but he did put out 22 points yesterday and 8 assists. He played a good game. It's just those plays towards the end of the game is where you need to make your best decisions, all right? And he didn't make the best decision. Like I said, Terry Rozier, he only took 7 shots, but he made 4 of them, played well. And that was probably the most logical option to pass to right there because, he's right there in the corner. And I think Terry Rozier hits most of his threes from the corner also. So, Celtics really messed this one up at the end. The Lakers played a great game. Lakers were the better team in this one. I'm not trying to say that the Celtics should have pulled this one out by any means. Like I said, the Lakers were the better team. Probably should hit their free throws more at the last minute. But nonetheless, they pulled out the win. All right, so now the Boston Celtics are currently on a 4-game losing streak, and I think they're still number 1 in the East, 1.5 games up on Toronto, and then 6 games up on Cleveland. Honestly, I see the East as far as regular season seeding coming down, the number 1 seed coming down to Boston or Toronto, but Boston right now, they do have the best defensive team in the league, but their biggest problem is that they're not spacing too well. All right, beginning of the season, you'd see that Celtics would share the ball. All right, they wouldn't be like on top of each other as far as positioning and all that. But now, the Celtics really, they did score 107 in the last game, but they just really haven't been able to put it together during this 4-game losing streak. All right, you got more ISO ball. You got Marcus Smart taking a bunch of threes, and I know he did go hit 4 of them yesterday, but I think Marcus Smart's currently shooting this season 29% from 3. So, you really don't want him taking all the threes right there. And then you got Jason Tatum, who's looking like he's on a little bit of a slump right now. Jaylen Brown's trying to find his shot again. And, without Kyrie Irving, like you saw in the Sixers game, if you had a chance to watch that, Celtics offense really doesn't flow at all without Kyrie. So, he was back, scored 33 in this one. But, it just didn't really matter. So the Celtics got to figure it out. Brad Stevens, I don't know if... I'm not sure if the Celtics at the trade deadline trade for a scorer. I doubt they do. Maybe you could go for a guy like Tyreek Evans to come off the bench. But, that's the little pipe dream right there. And then I think they still do need a center who could grab boards. Al Horford did grab 12 rebounds after that. But, you got a guy like Aaron Baines who only grabbed 2 in the game. Daniel Tice, their next biggest guy, only 5 rebounds. Marcus Morris did have 7, but that's not really the biggest guy out there that could be grabbing rebounds constantly. That's always been the Celtics' problem the last few years, so I think they really need to address that at the trade deadline. Not sure if they will, but nonetheless, they're currently on a 4-game losing streak, but still first in the East. All right. Believe it or not, there were some other games that went on last night. Look at those Sacramento Kings. All right. I picked them to lose. What do? they win. All right, they won 105-99, beat the Magic in Orlando. You had Willie Cauley-Stein with 21 points, 9 rebounds, shot 9 of 18. De'Aaron Fox only played 11 minutes in this one. He had 7 points, shot 3 of 6. Vince Carter with the start once again, played 30 minutes for old man Vince with 30 minutes nearly. He had 4 points, 6 assists, shot 1 of 7 in the game. Bogdan Bogdanovic, 8 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, shot 4 of 12. And if you look at it, I mean, these numbers don't look good. I mean, look at Scott Labissiere. I'm going to go through the starting five. Like I said, Scott Labissiere, 10 points, Cauley-Stein, 21, Fox, 7, Carter, 4, Bogdanovic, 8. You're probably thinking, how in the world did the Kings win this game? Look at Garrett Temple off the bench. 34 points, 5 assists, shot 14 of 17 from the game, and shot 4 of 7 from the three-point line. Buddy Hield also contributed off the bench. He had 13 points, 5 rebounds, shot 5 of 10, and 3 of 6 from the three-point line. Big game right there from Garrett Temple. It doesn't really mean much for the Kings to win this one. I mean, they're tanking right now. They need a top pick. And like I've been saying over and over and over, hopefully they end up drafting a dude that's a franchise game changer right there. Because, I mean, De'Aaron Fox could be the future, but he's still got a long ways to go as far as developing. Willie Cauley-Stein is a nice piece on the team, but he's not going to elevate your franchise. Bogdanovic might be the Kings' best shooter going forward, but like I said, you just don't have that true franchise-changing player on that team yet. As for the Magic, though, don't forget that they had some stats to show. You had Aaron Gordon with 16 points, 12 rebounds. He shot 6 of 17. Evan Fournier with 22 points. He shot 7 of 17, 2 of 10 from the three-point line. Jonathan Simmons with 14 points, 4 rebounds, shot 5 of 9, 3 of 5 from the three-point line. And you had Elfrid Payton with 21 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. He shot 9 of 14. And, I mean, like I said, the Magic lost this one. Kings Magic currently got... I think they're tied for the worst record in the league right now, I believe, unless Atlanta's right there with them. But... I mean, as far as who truly won this game, I got to go with Orlando because, I mean, you need that lower draft pick. As for the next game of the night, we had the Brooklyn Nets facing off with the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder pulled this one out 109-108. For the Nets, you had DeMar Carroll with 13 points, 3 rebounds, shot 3 of 11. Then you had Spencer Dinwiddie. Is it Sean or Spencer Dinwiddie? I keep forgetting. Either way, Dinwiddie had 13 points, 7 assists, shot 4 of 9. Allen Crabbe, 12 points. Not a good shooting night from him. Only 5 of 13 from the field, 2 of 8 from the three-point line. Jahlil Okafor only played 10 minutes in this game, had 4 points, 1 rebound, shot 1 of 2. And then D'Angelo Russell played 15 minutes, 7 points, 4 assists, shot 2 of 6. As for those Oklahoma City Thunder, Russell Westbrook hit the game-winning layup with like 3 seconds left in the game. He had 32 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, didn't hit a 3, 0 of 4, and was shot 12 of 27 from the field. Then you had Paul George with 28 points, 9 rebounds, shot 9 of 20. Not a great shooting night, but nonetheless he put up 28. Carmelo Anthony, only 10 points from him, did have 8 rebounds, shot 4 of 12, 0 of 2 from the three-point line. Off the bench, you had old man Raymond Felton with 14 points, 4 assists, shot 6 of 8, and 2 of 2 from the three-point line. He did that in 17 minutes. Raymond Felton is, I mean, there's a bunch of old guys in this league. I mean, there's like Raymond Felton, I feel like he fits in with guys like Jared Dudley, Devin Harris, guys like that. You really didn't remember that they were still in the league, but they're still out there and still playing reasonable minutes. So Oklahoma City is now currently 27-20. Let me double check where they're currently at in the standings in the West. They might be number 4 right now. I mean, remember in the beginning of the season when they were playing terribly? I think they fixed that. But right now they're number 5 at 27-20. Spurs are currently 31-18. Minnesota's currently 31-18, but in the 3 spot. Speaking of the Spurs, they beat the Cleveland Cavaliers yesterday in San Antonio, 114-102. Let's start off with the Spurs stats right here. You had LaMarcus Aldridge with 30 points, 8 rebounds, shot 12 of 18. Kyle Anderson, 10 points, shot 5 of 10, also had 12 rebounds. Dejounte Murray, 19 points, 10 rebounds, shot 8 of 15. Off the bench, you had Tony Parker with 14 points, 6 assists, 7 of 12. He's going to be coming off the bench from now on. Greg Popovich told him it's time. It's time for Tony Parker to hit the bench just like his good friend Manu Ginobili. All right, so let's talk Cavs. Kevin Love, 10 points, shot 4 of 8, 11 rebounds. Jay Crowder, 13 points, 4 rebounds, shot 4 of 6. You got LeBron with 28 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, shot 10 of 23. I think currently yesterday became the youngest scorer to ever hit 30,000 points. Even had a nice little Instagram post congratulating his younger self, I guess. That was kind of weird, actually, but I didn't get it. But, I mean, it's LeBron. All right, Isaiah Thomas, 14 points, shot 3 of 9, 0 of 2 from the three-point line. J.R. Smith, I feel like he's been doing this a lot. Goose Egg, shot 0 of 4. Couldn't hit a shot in the game. No points. 2 rebounds, 2 assists. Off the bench, you had Jeff Green, 8 points. Tristan Thompson, 8 points. Only 1 rebound. That's pretty unacceptable. Derrick Rose played in this game. He had 6 points, played 13 minutes. And then you had Dwayne Wade, the high scorer, off the bench with 12 points, 6 rebounds, shot 6 of 8. after the game, Ty Lue said that he's going to be making some changes to the starting lineup, and I'm not sure really what changes you make. I mean, I think he's going to, maybe, I don't see it. I don't see how you can make a change in the lineup and make this team better. You take out a guy like Jay Crowder, throw Tristan Thompson in there, out there as a center. I mean, now you have no big man off your bench to go out and rebound. All right, you take out maybe J.R. Smith. Who are you going to put him in for? Old man Dwayne Wade or Iman Shumpert, who just came back off of injury? I don't see Kyle Korver coming into the starting lineup because you need that little sharpshooter off the bench. So, I mean, it really doesn't make – there's not really much for them to do as far as lineup changes. It's not going to make them any better, but I guess you got to try something new, I guess. But like I said, it's not going to happen. Then for the final game of the night, you had the Golden State Warriors facing off with the New York Knicks. The Knicks put up a good fight, and a good fight against the Warriors is losing by double digits. They lost by 11. Golden State put up 123. Knicks had 112. You had Michael Beasley with 21 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Started for Kristaps Porzingis in this one. Tim Hardaway had 11 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, shot 4 of 12. Enes Kanter with 16 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists. He shot 6 of 12. Old man Jarrett Jack, another one right there, still starting in the league, still playing well. 13 points, 6 assists, shot 4 of 9, played 29 minutes. Then you had Courtney Lee with 20 points, 5 rebounds, shot 8 of 13. As for those Golden State Warriors, you had Draymond Green with 12 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, shot 5 of 9. Kevin Durant, only 14 points in this one, 14 assists. He shot 4 of 10. Did play 32 minutes, so I mean, he played enough, but 14 points just wasn't good enough, I guess. Zaza Pachulia got the start in this one, 13 points, 4 rebounds, shot 5 of 6. Steph Curry, 32 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds, shot 9 of 19, 8 of 15 from the three-point line. And Klay Thompson, not a good night from him, only 9 points, 4 assists, shot 4 of 10. But nonetheless, I mean, the Warriors still put up 123, currently the best team in the league. A friend texted me last night saying they're pretty much the New England Patriots. They don't care about the regular season, but you already know that they're the best team in the league. So I agree with that. That's actually going to wrap it up for this segment. Next up, we're going to be talking Pat Shurmur to the Giants. What does that mean for them? What could they possibly do in the offseason? Third segment, we'll be talking Todd Haley to the Browns. And then, like I said, for that fourth segment, we'll be talking about anything going on in sports. And we'll be making my picks for the NBA games going on tonight. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. All right, last time we talked about the NBA games from, what was it, Tuesday night. Talked about the Celtics and their current 4-game skid. Kyle Kuzma erupted in the fourth quarter, did whatever he wanted against that Celtics defense. That's pretty tough to do considering the Celtics do have statistically the best defense in the league. All right, but nonetheless, Lakers pulled out a big win right there, especially without Lonzo Ball facilitating the offense. Then you had the Cleveland Cavaliers dropping another game, this time to the Spurs. Again, as I've said before, not sure what the Cavs can do to fix that team this season, but they're going to try something. I think they're going to be looking to get George Hill, but I mean, I'll save that for the fourth segment as far as where he fits in with the team and what he brings. So let's talk football. Let's talk New York Giants. Let's talk Pat Shurmur. All right, and let's talk James Bettcher. All right, new defensive coordinator for the New York Giants. Good hire right there. I like it. All right. Bettcher was the former Arizona Cardinals defensive coordinator. He had 3 seasons with them. That defense didn't finish lower than 6th in the NFL in team defense. All right. This is big right here because New York's defense this past season, I mean, everyone thought that they'd be really solid. They did play well the year before, but nonetheless just couldn't get it going at all. A couple of cornerback suspensions. You got guys like Eli Apple creating distractions in the locker room and just really didn't play up to their talent level. All right, but you bring in a guy like James Betcher, I'm sure he's going to fix that. Runs a 3-4 defense, so we'll see how that all works out with New York. I like the move, though. I think the Giants are starting to turn it over and pretty much starting from scratch. I mean, obviously not from complete scratch, like a rebuild, like a bad team, but I like what they're doing right now. So let's talk Pat Shurmur. All right, made Adam Thielen a top 10 receiver this year in the league. If you don't believe it, that's cool. It's just my opinion. But, I mean, Adam Thielen is probably the most underrated receiver in the league. I'm sure next year he won't be, but people really didn't start catching on to him until later on in the year, this season. All right, so he did well with Thielen, and look what he did to Case Keenum. All right, Case Keenum started out with the Texans, didn't really get too many opportunities, but when he was out there, just didn't look good enough. All right, then he ends up going to the Rams, gets a few starts. I think he had like 7 starts one season or around there. I can't remember the exact number, but nonetheless, just didn't play well with the Rams. Somehow finds himself on the Vikings. No one really thinks anything of Case Keenum. We're more thinking at the beginning of the season, oh, Sam Bradford's going to be their quarterback. Guy just broke the completion percentage record. And I'm not trying to talk Sam Bradford up by any means. I mean, I don't think he's a great quarterback or anything like that. He's a serviceable quarterback game manager. But nonetheless, it was looking like Sam Bradford was going to be the starter, and he was in week 1. And we were more still thinking of Teddy Bridgewater if he was going to come back this season. All right, remember, Sam Bradford goes down. Case Keenum comes in. What does he do? Leads him to the NFC Championship game. Did get blown out by the Eagles, but nonetheless, he got him there. All right, so the way I look at Case Keenum and what he did this season, I think most of his success is owed to Pat Shurmur. All right, Pat Shurmur pretty much, I mean, Vikings offense has really been their downfall. And like, it hasn't been bad. I'm not saying it's been bad or anything like that, but it just really, like, the last few seasons, it's been their defense that's been stepping up and pretty much their best unit. But this year, their offense looked really good. And I'm not trying to say the defense looked worse or anything like that. I'm just saying the offense improved big time. I mean, you had Case Keenum finish the year with 3,500 yards, 22 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. All right, you got a guy like Dalvin Cook who went down, I think, what was it, week 4, week 5. He was looking good before that. And then you got to throw Latavius Murray and Jerick McKinnon out there, and they were productive every game almost. I mean, if one played bad, the other played well. So, I mean, you really didn't get anything bad from the running back position. Stephon Diggs, one of the better athletes in the league, one of the better receivers in the league. I'd say he's probably right outside that top 10 range. I mean, top 15, I'll give Stephon Diggs. Adam Thielen, like I said, I think he was a top 10 receiver this season. All right. And, I mean, the offense just played well. I know the Vikings offensive line has been something that's been a problem the last few years, and they played well too. So Pat Shurmur had this offense playing extremely well, and now here he is. He gets rewarded with a job for the New York Giants. I like this a lot for the Giants right here. All right, and I'm not too sure what's gonna happen this offseason. Like, I got about maybe three theories in my head that could happen with the Giants as far as pretty much what they do in the draft, the quarterback position. All right, two of them are kind of realistic. The other one I doubt, but let's get into them. All right, first one is I see, like, if I'm the Giants, if I'm Pat Shurmur, I'm going to keep Eli Manning because he's only got 2 more years left on his deal. All right, yes, Eli Manning, the first ballot Hall of Famer. All right, I'm going to keep Eli Manning. Let's see. Yeah, I'm keeping Manning, and I'm going to take Josh Rosen with my number 2 pick. I know they need a running back and some offensive line help, but I think Josh Rosen currently is the best quarterback in the draft right now. I know people like to talk about Josh Allen and Sam Darnold, but I think Rosen is currently, because Josh Allen right now, I think he's more of a project. Everyone talks about how he has the tools, but I mean, we're not sure if he's going to be game ready week 1. I mean, it's just draft process talk right there, so we'll never know for sure until it gets to there. But I mean, like I said, I think he's just a project right now. Sam Darnold's got a lot of raw talent, but he needs a solid coach to help fix it and help develop it. That's where, I mean, Sam Darnold to Cleveland makes sense with Todd Haley, and we'll talk about, like I said, we'll talk about Todd Haley in the next segment. But yeah, as far as if I'm the Giants and Pat Shurmur, I'm keeping Eli for 2 years. Going to have draft Josh Rosen with my number 2 pick, and I'm going to have him just develop under Eli. And then if I'm Pat Shurmur, I'm just going to give my knowledge. I mean, I made Case Keenum look good, right? So yeah, if I'm the Giants, I'm doing that. But there is the theory in my mind that they could cut Eli Manning. All right, hear me out. They could cut Eli Manning and bring Case Keenum in, make him the starter, and draft Saquon Barkley with that number 2 pick. All right, people are probably thinking, did you see Case Keenum in the NFC Championship game? Yeah, I did. And as for Case Keenum in that NFC Championship game, that was literally the worst possible thing that could have happened to the guy. The worst. Probably was in line to be making around 15 to 20 mil a year if he just put in a good performance at the NFC Championship, plays terrible, throws, 2 picks. Now he's probably getting anywhere from 10 to 12 million, I think. Maybe 10 to 15 million, but I'm not sure. I don't see him really getting that. All right. So let's look. You bring in Case Keenum. Pat Shurmur knows what his strengths are, knows how to make him a good quarterback, knows how to put him in the right position to succeed. All right. You got Odell Beckham Jr. coming back. Hopefully. And that's one thing with Odell Beckham Jr. too. I'm not sure. I don't think he's coming back until the Giants give him a long-term contract. And if I'm him, that's exactly what I do. I mean, it's like Le'Veon Bell saying that he's gonna think about retiring or sitting out the season if the Steelers franchise him. I think players should start doing that more. Players need to start taking more power. But nonetheless, that's a conversation for a different day. All right. So yeah, you bring in Case Keenum. You got him. You got Odell Beckham Jr. coming back. You got Brandon Marshall coming back. You do need offensive line help, but like I said, if you draft Saquon Barkley with that number 2 pick, the rest of the draft you could just use it on offensive line. And I mean, look at this, all right? You got Case Keenum at quarterback, Barkley at running back, Marshall and Beckham Jr. on the outsides. You got Evan Ingram, who showed that he was towards the end of the season, like the middle part of the season, towards the end, he looked like he was a top 10 tight end. I mean, really quick and a good pass catcher. So, I mean, you got those 3 weapons right there. I mean, that's a solid offense right there, especially with Pat Shurmur calling the plays. All right, and then like I said, I like that James Bettcher hire because, I mean, he's going to fix up that those leaks in the New York Giants defense right there. All right, you got guys like Olivier Vernon, Jason Pierre-Paul, and then you got Landon Collins playing safety, Janoris Jenkins. I mean, this is still a good team on defense. I think it was just more a cultural type of locker room type of thing that really was their downfall. Because I could tell Ben McAdoo, I mean, if you've read the headlines and all that stuff, Ben McAdoo really just didn't have a hold on that team at all. So, I mean, that's probably one of the bigger reasons why they struggled. But nonetheless, I mean, yeah, I mean, Case Keenum, I think if I'm Pat Shurmur, like I said, I'd probably go Josh Rosen with, and have Eli Manning play out the last 2 years of his contract. But I'm kind of liking this Case Keenum to the Giants, cut Manning, draft Barkley, and then you got a pretty solid offense right there if you spend the rest of your draft on offensive linemen. And, of course, you got to hit on those draft picks. But, I mean, that's what their job is, to hit on them. All right? So that's what I think. I'm kind of liking that idea now. But, again, the third theory that I think is kind of unrealistic is if the Giants just draft Josh Rosen with the 2nd pick and then cut Eli Manning and just have Rosen start from the beginning. I don't really see that happening. I mean, if I'm Pat Shurmur, I think the smartest option is to draft Rosen and have him learn under Eli. But, I mean, who knows what they'll do. And as far as what Eli does, if he gets cut, I'm almost like, if he gets cut, there's only one team I think that fits for him, and that's the Jacksonville Jaguars, all right? Eli Manning goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's a Super Bowl contending team right there. I know people have their problems with Eli Manning. Some don't think he's a Hall of Fame quarterback. I mean, the guy's top 10 in passing yards, passing touchdowns. I think, yeah, he's top 15, I think it is, in interceptions, but Brett Favre's number 1, and no one really knocks Brett Favre for it. He's got 2 Super Bowls, so nonetheless, I mean, he is a Hall of Famer, but like I said, if he goes to the Jags, you don't need Eli Manning to do too much. You already got Leonard Fournette there. You got receivers in D.D. Westbrook, Keenan Cole, Allen Hurns, Allen Robinson. I was thinking too what they're going to do with him since his contract's up, but it says they're either going to try to extend him or they're just going to franchise him. So I'm almost certain Allen Robinson's going to be back. I might be missing another receiver. Oh yeah, Marquise Lee. All right, those are all solid young receivers, and I think they were held back this season because of the fact that they had Blake Bortles playing quarterback there. All right, so I mean, you got those guys out there. You got Leonard Fournette, solid offensive line, and you got the best defense in the league. And like I said, I mean, Eli Manning isn't the quarterback that he used to be, but he's still a pretty good quarterback in the league, I think personally. So I mean, you put him on there, that's a Super Bowl contending team right there. Obviously, there's that whole Tom Brady guy that's going to be playing in the Super Bowl in 2 weeks that you got to worry about next season, and I guess till he's 45 because that's what he says. I mean, personally, I don't think Tom Brady's last until he's 43, past 43, but we'll have to wait and see. So, like I said, I mean, Pat Shurmur to the Giants, I like it. I think he's going to end up drafting, or if I'm him, I'm drafting Rosen, having him learn under Eli for 2 years. If not, there's that whole bringing Case Keenum in as your starting quarterback, cut Eli, draft Saquon Barkley. That's an explosive offense right there. I mean, people were talking about Barkley like he's the best thing since sliced bread. You got NFL draft writers, scouts out here saying that he's one of the best running back prospects, better than Ezekiel Elliott, like an Adrian Peterson type. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what the Giants do. Personally, with them getting Bettcher as the defensive coordinator, bringing Shurmur in, I think if they make the right moves, then they could. I'm not sure if I want to say that they'll compete for the division next year because it's all pretty much way too early to be talking about it. But, I mean, they're going to be a way better team than they were this past season. So that's what I got to say about that. Next up, we're going to be talking Todd Haley to the Browns, talk about what it means for Hugh Jackson in that offense, and talk about what it means for the team as a whole. So we'll be talking about that. And then, like I said, for that fourth segment, we'll be talking pretty much anything going on in the world of sports and making my picks for tonight's NBA game. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA, from the UFC to extreme cage fighting. They got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. In that last segment, we talked Pat Shurmur to the Giants, talked about their new defensive coordinator hire and James Bettcher. Bettcher was he's now the former defensive coordinator of the Arizona Cardinals, and he was there for 3 seasons. They did not have a defense ranked lower than 6th in team defense while he was there. So good hire there. Talked about what they could do in the offseason. Talked about how I think that they should draft Josh Rosen, keep Eli Manning for the 2 years, and after that, go with Rosen. Or they could bring in Case Keenum, draft Saquon Barkley, cut Manning, and boom, you got a good offense right there. But not sure what they're going to do. I'm just a guy with the podcast, right? All right, so let's talk Todd Haley, Cleveland Browns. They're making good moves, you guys, as far as the coaching staff right now. I mean, there is that little whole questionable move about keeping that guy Hugh Jackson, the guy that went 1-31 in his first 2 seasons with the Browns. That's pretty hard to do, honestly. Just go 1-32 in the NFL. I mean, I still don't get why they brought him back. I mean, this is going to be his last year right here. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know, man. It's a Cleveland Browns thing. But nonetheless, you got Todd Haley going to the Cleveland Browns. I like it. All right, I was kind of skeptical about it at first, but you got him. I was skeptical about it because I wasn't sure if it was going to be Hugh Jackson still calling the plays or if it was going to be Todd Haley. And I read an article saying that's going to be Todd Haley, or at least he's expected to be the guy who calls plays in Cleveland. If that's true, then I like this hire a lot. All right, Todd Haley, everywhere he's went, has been good. All right, he was with the New York Jets from 95 to 2000. He was the scouting assistant for that team for 2 years, and then for the last 3 years he was there, he was the wide receivers coach, coached a guy like Keyshawn Johnson. Keyshawn Johnson turned out pretty well, didn't he? All right, then goes to the Chicago Bears, 2001 and 2003, wide receivers coach there. Marty Booker was a solid receiver under him. Then he went to Dallas. He was the receivers coach there. Coached a guy like Terrell Owens. You might have heard of him. Oh, yeah, by the way, Terrell Owens needs to be in the Hall of Fame. I'm going to go off topic for a little bit. It's just ridiculous how he's not in there, all right? T.O. is one of the best receivers of all time, and the voters need to get over the fact that he was a locker room distraction. I'll give you that. But, I mean, come on now. It's Terrell Owens. It doesn't matter locker room distraction or not. One of the best of all time. All right, back to the point. All right, yes, he was with the Cowboys from 2004 to 2006. Then he becomes the offensive coordinator for the Arizona Cardinals in 2007. Remember that team that went to the Super Bowl? All right, that team had Kurt Warner. I think Edgerrin James was their running back, their starting running back, Larry Fitzgerald, and Anquan Boldin. That offense was nice, and that was because of Todd Haley. All right, so he did well there. Then he goes to the Kansas City Chiefs. Didn't do too well there, I'll admit. I mean, he started off, 4-12 in his first year, then made the playoffs in his second year, then in good old Kansas City Chiefs fashion, loses in the wild card game, and then he was 5-8 in his third year, and they fired him midseason. Then he ends up with the Pittsburgh Steelers, okay? And we all know pretty much what he's been with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Has had his problems with Ben Roethlisberger, and that's been well documented, all right? They haven't really seen eye to eye. Never really saw eye to eye, if we're being honest here. I mean, I don't understand. Like, it seems to me like people just don't really like Todd Haley, but nonetheless, I mean, he did have that Pittsburgh Steelers offense playing well. All right, he was the offensive coordinator from 2012 to 2017, and here we are. Todd Haley, Cleveland Browns. All right, I like the move, like I said. And, I mean, it's going to, like, this team, obviously, you can't get any worse than what they were last season. All right, you go 0-16. Personally, I think that, like, you know how sports works. I mean, this team has been bad since a little bit after I was born. I was born in 96. I think the Cleveland Browns came back in, 98. Since then, I've been a dumpster fire. Quarterback after quarterback, all right? Bad front office move after bad front office move. All right, I mean, Tim Couch, list goes on. Johnny Manziel, I mean, I think Johnny Manziel is going to be making a comeback in the CFL. At least that's what's been reported, but we have to wait and see. But nonetheless, it's been bad move after bad move, all right? I think that the final chapter of that book of them being bad is the 0-16 season. So, I mean, you have nowhere else to go besides up. You can't get any worse than last season unless you go 0-16 again. If you go 0-16 again, just sell the Browns. But nonetheless, I don't think they will. So you got Todd Haley coming in. I think this is a good move for the team, especially for Hugh Jackson, all right? I do not like Hugh Jackson, the head coach. Love Hugh Jackson, the offensive coordinator. All right, last season, I think he didn't sign an offensive coordinator or hire an offensive coordinator. And I think the reason why, I can't remember like what he said, it was something like he didn't want to bring in a guy that was just destined to fail because that offense just had no talent around it. And I was like, wow, that's pretty crazy. But nonetheless, now he's got one. All right, so going forward, I mean, what does this move do for the Browns? Obviously, is going to make their offense better, but you still got to put players in positions to you got to draft the right players, all right? So they got the 1st and 4th pick. Personally, what I think they should do with that number 1 pick is draft Josh Rosen. Like you heard me say in the last segment, I think he's the best quarterback in the draft right now. But I think they're going to end up going with Sam Darnold or Josh Allen, both projects. But like I said, Todd Haley, good offensive coordinator, probably could help develop them better than Hugh Jackson ever could. All right, Hugh Jackson, I mean, you saw it this season with Deshaun Kaiser. I mean, yeah, Deshaun Kaiser probably isn't the quarterback of the future for that team. But I mean, the way Hugh Jackson just dealt with him this season was just bizarre. I mean, you had Hugh Jackson starting him, sit him 1 week, bring in, Kevin Hogan, Cody Kessler, doesn't really matter. But yeah, you have him do that, bring in Deshaun Kaiser the week after that, and just keep going back and forth. It was just bizarre the way he did that mid-season. And then eventually he made Deshaun Kaiser his starting quarterback for the rest of the year. But I mean, Hugh Jackson just isn't the best coach to develop quarterbacks, and I think that Todd Haley could be good at that. So let's say they draft a guy like Josh Allen or Sam Darnold. Again, I'm not the highest person on Josh Allen. I think he is a project, but as I said before, I'm just the guy with the podcast, right? What do you do with that 4th pick? I've been seeing mock drafts saying you either go Minkah Fitzpatrick, safety from Alabama, or you go Saquon Barkley. Obviously, we know who that is. If it's me, I'm going Barkley. All right, you bring in a guy like Todd Haley, give him some talent to work with. All right, let's say they draft Darnold or Allen, doesn't really matter. You got one of those guys playing quarterback. Then you got Barkley at running back. You got Josh Gordon at wide receiver. I saw too early in the season, like mid-season, that they might think about trading him in the offseason. If I'm the Browns, I mean, I'm not sure if that's the case anymore, but if I'm the Browns, I'm keeping Josh Gordon. The guy, when he's out there, is a beast, all right? I mean, he showed flashes of what he could be once again with the 3 games that he played. I think it was, almost positive it was 3 games he played at the end of the season. But, if I'm the Browns, I'm keeping Josh Gordon. And you got Corey Coleman on the other side. You got David Njoku in his second year who showed flashes of what he could possibly be in the future, so you just need him to develop some more. You got a nice offensive line, not what it was from years past, but it's still a good offensive line. As far as defense goes, I mean, you got a nice little defensive line right there. You got a decent secondary. I mean, the biggest problem with the Browns defense, I think, last year was that they played well. They competed, but they were just too young. I'm almost positive that the Browns had the youngest team in the league. And you pretty much, for that defense, you just need them to just get older and develop. All right, and if they do that, I think they'll be fine. So, I mean, there's not really too much I think they need to do on the defense besides develop them. So I think this draft, they should pretty much spend on offense and maybe pick up a safety in the draft also, because I'm not sure really what Jabril Peppers is. I mean, I saw like little footage of him in his games, and they had him lined up so far back in the safety position. It was ridiculous, like 20, 30 yards back. I didn't get it. I'm not sure if that's just like a defensive scheme type of thing, but nonetheless, I mean, maybe you could go safety. That's where a guy like Minkah Fitzpatrick comes in if you don't go Barkley at number 4. All right, so look at it here. You got Darnold at the quarterback position, because I think that's who they're going to end up going with. Barkley, Gordon, Coleman. Coleman kind of scares me as the number 2 receiver just because of the fact that he gets hurt way too much. The guy can't stay healthy, And he does have talent, but like I said, he just can't stay healthy as it is. All right, so if I'm the Browns, I'm going to draft a wide receiver later on. Probably not in the second round or anything like that, but probably fourth, fifth round, maybe third round, possibly. But I think you do need a guy to come in there just in case Coleman does go down, which, I mean, as we've seen, it's more than likely to happen. Hopefully it doesn't, but you need that insurance right there. All right, so, I mean, look at, like I said, you got Njoku playing tight end and a nice offensive line there. How many wins does that get you? I think the Browns, if they do everything right, they'll be a 5-win team, 6-win team, most likely, I think at the most. I mean, there is a chance that they could pull off 7. Let me see if I could pull up their 2018 schedule as I'm talking right now. All right, but like I said, I mean, the Browns, they're just not ready yet. I mean, you got, like, because they do have a chance to maybe pull out 7 wins, maybe, but, I mean, you still got to worry about the Bengals. The Bengals, I know they didn't play well the past 2 years, but you got Joe Mixon playing running back, going to develop some more. You got the top 5 wide receiver in A.J. Green, a nice little number 2 in Brandon LaFell. Tyler Kroft showed that he could be a pretty good tight end. You just need Andy Dalton to just play better. That's it. All right, Andy Dalton has shown that he could get this team to the playoffs and be a solid quarterback in the league, but the last 2 years, like I said, just hasn't looked good. That team as a whole brought back Marvin Lewis for another year. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but, I mean, it doesn't really matter. And as far as the defense goes, they just need to be more disciplined. I think that's one of their biggest problems is the defense isn't disciplined enough. I mean, Pittsburgh's still the top dog in that division by far. I think they're going to end up re-signing, extending Le'Veon Bell. That's what it's looking like right now. And then you got the Baltimore Ravens, all right? John Harbaugh's the coach. I mean, if you have a solid coach in the league, you're always going to be a solid team in the league, okay? Because they always know what to do, where to put players at, and how to utilize their talent the best. And that's what I like about guys like John Harbaugh, especially Bill Belichick's the number 1 guy for that best coach of all time, I feel. All right, Doug Peterson especially, that's another one right there. Guys that pretty much just don't try and force players to fit their scheme. They try to make their scheme fit the players, all right, if that makes any sense right there. So, I mean, you still got to worry about those teams in the division, but looking at their schedule right now, you got the Falcons. Obviously, you got Baltimore twice, Cincinnati twice, and Pittsburgh twice. All right, then you got Carolina. You got to play the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Jets, the Broncos, Texans, the Saints, the Raiders, and the Bucks. That's tough, all right? That is actually, I'm going to put a cap on it right now. Browns, if they draft Arnold and Barkley, that's probably, I mean, they're not, I mean, it's way too early all this. I'm just speaking in the future and all that, predicting stuff. But, I mean, I see probably 5 wins at the most for them. Probably pull off one against Cincinnati. I mean, again, like I said, it's all early. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter what I'm saying now. But nonetheless, I mean, the Browns are doing well as far as front office hires and offense and coaching staff hires. I mean, Todd Haley, like I said, I like him. Don't really understand bringing back Hugh Jackson for another year. If you're bringing in a new offensive coordinator like Todd Haley, I think they should have just might as well got rid of Jackson and brought in a new head coach, especially with John Dorsey, the new GM, coming in. I like John Dorsey too. I think he did well with the Chiefs, and I think he knows what he's doing. So I think he's going to do well in the draft as far as picking players. And, I mean, for Cleveland Browns fans, I mean, you pretty much just got to watch this team develop. I mean, the Cleveland Browns are basically the Sacramento Kings of the NFL. All right, the Kings in the NBA have been bad since 2006. Really just, it's like you think they've been rebuilding, but it's just pretty much bad decision after bad decision. Now the Kings are starting to figure it out. They're a really young team, and I think that's what the Browns are right now. Extremely young. Got to add more pieces to it and just watch them develop and still be patient. I mean, you've been doing it for, 18 years almost, pretty much? So, I mean, what's a few more? So, like I said, I mean, I like the Todd Haley hire. I think he's going to do well, especially like the fact that he's going to be calling plays, and I hope that they go I hope that they go Rosen and Saquon Barkley with the first 2 picks, but, I mean, Darnold and Barkley would still be pretty good, too. So, future is, I'm going to admit, looking bright in Cleveland. Maybe Hugh Jackson could do well as a head coach this season too, so we're going to have to wait and see. But next up, we're going to be making my picks for what's today, Wednesday's games in the NBA, and talking about anything else going on in the world of sports, anything that comes to my mind. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's GSMCpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
the GSMC Sports Podcast. In that last segment, we talked about Todd Haley going to the Browns as the offensive coordinator. I like the move. Think that they're going to be a 5-win team next season, probably around 6 wins if they make the right moves in the draft, at least what I think are the right moves. But I'm not working there, so it doesn't matter. They have a really tough schedule. It's going to be tough for them to pull out a lot of wins out there, so that's why I think they're going more 5-6 wins. But nonetheless, that's going to be better than 0-16. All right, so as you guys know, we talk a lot of football, we talk a lot of basketball on this show. Sometimes baseball, but I mean, the offseason really hasn't been too hot. I mean, you look at a team like the Red Sox, they really haven't done much. I think their plan as far as what they're going to do to compete with the Yankees is hope that Chris Sale returns back to his form from last season, hope that David Price can stay healthy all year, all right, and go back to what he used to be. Maybe a guy like Drew Pomeranz would do better, but I mean, I just don't like what the Red Sox have done so far this season. I mean, I think they're looking to get JD Martinez from free agency, but there's kind of like a standoff with the Red Sox right now and Scott Boras' agent, because as you know, I mean, the agents are really the ones working the deals, not the players. So, yeah, I mean, they're waiting on that. But even with JD Martinez, I don't think that's enough to compete with the Yankees right now. I mean, the Yankees got Stanton, Judge, and a bunch of other good, solid hitters. So, I mean, I think they're just, like I said, they're just really hoping that the pitching is going to be able to shut it down. But, I mean, David Price really hasn't been what he used to be in Tampa Bay with the Red Sox so far. Drew Pomeranz really had a down year, I think it was last season. So, we just got to wait and see what they're going to do. But, we're going to be talking soccer right here, all right? Soccer for a few minutes. Bear with me, all right? For my soccer fans out here, you're going to enjoy this. Let's talk. All right, Real Madrid just lost their Copa del Rey second leg game to Leganes. They lost 2-1, all right? Finishes 2-2 on aggregate, but Madrid loses out because they had the least amount of away goals between the two teams. So this has been probably one of the worst seasons for Madrid in probably a decade, maybe even longer. I mean, they just really haven't been playing well. I think their current position in La Liga right now is currently they are number 4. 19 points behind number 1 Barcelona. All right, you're probably thinking top 4. I mean, that's not too bad. I mean, it's Champions League right there. But for a team like Real Madrid, with as much money as they spend and the type of players they bring in, they should always be competing for number 1 with Barcelona. So, I mean, as far as Champions League goes, I mean, I think that's just not a realistic option for them right there. I mean, they're not playing good enough soccer to be competing for the Champions League. I mean, they're not on Barcelona's level right now. They're not even on Manchester City's level or any teams like that for that matter. All right, but there could be a little saving grace for Real Madrid. There's been some rumblings in the soccer transfer world. I don't think it's going to happen in this January transfer window, but I think there's a solid chance that it could possibly happen in this summer. All right, how about Neymar leaving PSG to go play for Real Madrid? That's been something, like, there was rumors about it even when he was with Barcelona. Obviously, we never thought that it would happen because he was with Barcelona. It's like, oh, going from Barcelona to Madrid, that never happens. So he ends up going to PSG, and it's seeming like, I mean, he's doing well, scoring goals, racking up the assists, but I think that he is going to eventually come to Real Madrid, all right? Cristiano Ronaldo's getting older, really hasn't had a good season so far this year, and I think he's starting to hit the end for Ronaldo as far as playing at a top level, as far as being on Lionel Messi's level, all right? So, I mean, eventually, you lose a guy like Ronaldo, it's Real Madrid. You need to have a star player on that team always. That's just how it is. Neymar is that. I mean, you bring on Neymar, you make so much money as far as jersey sales, marketing, and all that. Plus, probably the third best player in the world on your team. Might even be better than Ronaldo right now, for being honest. But that's a conversation for a different day. Obviously, Lionel Messi's number 1, but I think you might be able to say Neymar could be number 2 as of right now. But like I said, I mean, Neymar to Real Madrid, people will say, yeah, he used to play for Barcelona. He would never do that. I mean, the Brazilian Ronaldo, he played for Barcelona and Real Madrid. All right, he played for both. And I know that he's probably in Neymar's ear telling him, or Neymar's got to be asking him if these Madrid rumors are true. Like, what do you think? Should I do it or whatever? I'm sure Ronaldo's telling him, yeah, go ahead, do it. All right, so I mean, Neymar to Real Madrid is not something that is far off. I think it's gonna happen eventually. Not sure if it'll be this summer or next year maybe, but I do think it's gonna happen. I mean, Neymar Madrid would just make El Clasico so much better. I mean, imagine Neymar going back to the Camp Nou, playing Barcelona. I mean, that'd be just crazy atmosphere right there. All right, so I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how it all ends up. But once again, Real Madrid is out of the Copa del Rey, and you know what? They have no chance of winning La Liga. So I mean, all they got left is Champions League, but they're not playing good soccer at the moment. Let's talk George Hill. Let's talk George Hill going to the Cavs. It's looking like that's most likely going to happen. I mean, George Hill, before he got to Sacramento, was a good defensive player on the perimeter. But as far as him with playing defense with Sacramento now, just hasn't been playing well. One of the worst as far as defensive rating goes. One of the worst on the Kings. One of the worst in the league. All right. So, I mean, George Hill to the Cavs. I mean, you got to pretty much hope he returns back to the defensive player that he used to be with Utah. All right. He wasn't like a great defensive player by any means or anything like that. I'm not saying that. But, I mean, he's got to be a whole lot better than what the Cavs currently got going right now. And I mean, I've been seeing that it's maybe going to be like Channing Frye and J.R. Smith maybe to the Kings, but I'm not sure like exactly what the return will be or for the Kings what they'll be getting. But it's looking like George Hill is going to end up with the Cleveland Cavs. All right, so what does that mean if they do get George Hill? Does he get inserted into the starting lineup? I say yeah. It's kind of weird because George Hill's a point guard, but I think he could play the 2 with Cleveland, with Isaiah playing the 1. Let's see, you have Isaiah playing the point guard position, and then George Hill playing the 2. I guess you could have LeBron playing the 3, Kevin Love playing the 4, and you still got that problem though, where if you have Tristan Thompson playing the 5, I mean, you have no big man off your bench that can consistently rebound. And even this season, Tristan Thompson just really hasn't been the rebounder that he was the last few seasons. So, I mean, maybe they could bring in a guy like, if the Cavs really truly want to compete with the Warriors, and I think even if they were to do these moves right here, then they still wouldn't really stand a chance against them. But if they really truly want to compete with the Warriors, then you got to bring in George Hill. All right, and you got to give up that Nets pick, and maybe, I'm not sure what other play you could give up for a guy like DeAndre Jordan, but get DeAndre Jordan. All right, if you were to bring in DeAndre Jordan and George Hill, like I said, I don't think that's going to be enough to compete with the Warriors, but that might be enough to get you out the East. Because with the team they got right now, all right, I know everyone loves to use they got LeBron, so they'll be in the finals, no problem, excuse, but I don't think that's going to be the case this season. With the team they got right now, I don't think they'll be able to beat the Celtics, let alone the Raptors. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. But if I'm the Cavs and I'm truly thinking about competing with the Warriors, because you know what, this might be LeBron's last season with the Cavs. We've talked about it before on the show a few podcasts ago, I think it was, maybe a few weeks ago. But, I mean, there's really not too many options for him to leave Cleveland and go somewhere else. I mean, like I said, I don't see him going to the Lakers. I mean, you go to the Lakers. If you're LeBron, you go to the Lakers. Even bringing Paul George there, you're still not good enough to compete with the Warriors, and you probably wouldn't even get past the Rockets. All right, he goes to a team like the Rockets. That's a team that could compete with the Warriors. All right, and it's crazy to say that, you know, he could compete with the Warriors. I mean, imagine a team with Chris Paul, James Harden, and LeBron James, and we're just saying that, yeah, they could compete. Not even saying that, yeah, they'd be able to beat the Warriors. I mean, the Warriors are just that good right there. And maybe a team like San Antonio, LeBron could go to. You got Kawhi Leonard, who seems really unhappy with what's going on, with how the doctors have been treating him as far as his injury goes. I think it's a quad injury he's been dealing with for a while. So, I mean, you got to worry about that there. But there's really no, besides Houston, I guess, and maybe San Antonio, there's really no true great option for LeBron to go to beat the Warriors. So I think he might end up staying in Cleveland, but they're just not looking good right now. So like I said, I mean, in order to compete with a team like the Warriors, you're going to need to bring in at least DeAndre Jordan and George Hill. George Hill's not going to do the job just by himself. So we're going to see what they got going on as far as the trade deadline goes, and we got to see what they're going to do with Kevin Love, or maybe even trading Isaiah Thomas. I've seen that too. So I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty with the Cavs right now. But I do think that J.R. Smith is going to be one of the guys that's for sure leaving. And like I said, Channing Frye will probably end up on Sacramento if the Cavs get George Hill. So we just got to wait and see. Let's pick NBA games for Wednesday night. All right, first up, we got the New Orleans Pelicans facing off with the Charlotte Hornets. This game's in Charlotte. Charlotte's currently a 13-13 team at home. New Orleans is currently 12-12 on the road. I think, I'm gonna go with the. I'm looking at the thing, like the games on ESPN right now, and they usually show like the ticket prices. It's ridiculous how the tickets for this game are $4. I mean, Kings tickets out here in Sacramento aren't even that cheap, and the Kings are terrible. All right, but getting back to the point, I think the Pelicans are gonna pull this one out. You got DeMarcus Cousins, who's been on fire lately. He's averaging 25 points, 12 rebounds, nearly 13 rebounds, 12.9 rebounds, and 5 assists this season. I mean, those are MVP numbers right there. For being real, I mean, if the Pelicans were a team that were like the 4th seed, 3rd seed around there, you might be hearing DeMarcus Cousins MVP talk. I mean, he's not by far, but he is the best center in the league. So, you know what? I'm going to go with the Pelicans in this one because, you know, they got that Anthony Davis guy playing the 4, and I hear he's pretty good too. And as far as DeMarcus Cousins going to the Cavs, I hope they don't do that because that's just going to end their season right there. DeMarcus Cousins does not fit in with the Cavs. So, yeah, I got the Pelicans beating the Hornets. Then we got the Utah Jazz facing off with the Detroit Pistons. The Jazz are currently 5-19 on the road. The Pistons are currently 13-8 at home. Jazz are currently 19-28 as it is. Detroit's favored by 2.5 in this game. I'm going to go with Detroit in this one. I think they have the better all-around team compared to the Jazz. Donovan Mitchell, probably in my opinion, the second best rookie in the league, averaging 19 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists. I don't think he's going to be able to do enough, though, to knock off the Pistons, so I'm going to go with Andre Drummond in that team right there. Speaking of Drummond, he's currently averaging 14 points, 15 rebounds a game this season. So, yeah, I got the Detroit Pistons in this one. Then we got the Phoenix Suns heading over to Indiana, facing off with the Indiana Pacers. This one's easy. I got the Pacers in this one. Victor Oladipo's been on fire so far this season. Devin Booker might be having his best season of his career so far. He's played, 4 years in the NBA, I think it is so far, maybe 3. But nonetheless, I mean, he's averaging 25 points a game, 4 rebounds a game, and 4 assists. Victor Oladipo averaging 24 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. Pacers currently got the better team, so I'm going with them at home. Then we got the Chicago Bulls facing off with the Philadelphia 76ers. This one's in Philly. Philly's currently 11-10 at home. The Bulls are currently 7-17 on the road. I'm going to go against the grain right here. Philly's favored in this one, but I'm going to go with the Bulls. The Bulls tend to play well against French teams like these, and Nikolai Mirotic, he's been playing well since he came back from that face fracture injury. He's been averaging 17 points a game, 6 rebounds a game. And, I mean, that young team right there in the Bulls, they might have some guys that they could stick with for the rest for the near future. I mean, you got Zach LaVine, who plays well. Chris Dunn's been a solid point guard. I'm not sure if they're going to end up keeping Mirotic at the trade deadline. I think that's going to be a guy that ends up going because I do know they do want to have a good draft pick in the lottery. So not sure what his future holds, but the Bulls do have some young guys that they might be able to hold on to for the future as far as rebuilding and developing that team. So I'm going with the Bulls in this one. I know they got Sixers got Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons. Yeah, I know all of that, but I think the Bulls are going to pull this one out. That's a gut feeling right there. Then we got the Toronto Raptors facing off with the Atlanta Hawks. This one's easy right here. Toronto's favored in this one, as they should be. They're heading into Atlanta. They're currently 14-11 on the road, and Atlanta's 10-13 at home. I'm going with the Raptors in this one. DeMar DeRozan's been playing good basketball. Dennis Schroeder's he's a good point guard in this league, but he needs to start being more consistent as far as his performances go. So I'm going with the Raptors in this one. They're the better team by far, so there's no reason to go against them. Then on ESPN, the first ESPN game of the night, we got the Rockets heading into Dallas, facing off with the Mavericks, of course. Rockets are 15-6 on the road. Dallas is currently 10-15 at home. Going to be fun to see Dennis Smith Jr. and Chris Paul go at it, but that's just about it. I think the Rockets are going to win this one big. Don't really see any way that the Mavericks win this one, so I'm going with the Rockets in this one. James Harden might finally get his MVP. We're just going to have to wait and see. All right, that rhyme, that was not intentional, I promise you. All right, next up, we got the Spurs heading into Memphis, facing off with the Grizzlies. Spurs are actually a really bad road team. They're currently 11-15 on the road. Grizzlies are 12-13 at home. That road record kind of scares me for these Spurs. I shouldn't overthink it. I'm going to go with the Spurs. I know Pau Gasol sat out yesterday's game against Cleveland. Not sure if he'll be back since it's a back-to-back, but I'm going to go with the Spurs nonetheless. I think they'll play well, but that might be a bit of a trap game right there. But I'm going with the Spurs still. Then we got the Minnesota Timberwolves facing off with the Portland Trailblazers. Trailblazers are the home team. They're currently 13-10 at home, and the Timberwolves are currently 12-12 on the road. All right. This one's a bit of a tough one. You got Damian Lillard, who's averaging 25 points a game this season, 4 rebounds, 6 assists. CJ McCollum's been having an off year, but this one's tough. I'm going to go with the Timberwolves, all right? They're currently the 3 seed in the West, and they've been playing good basketball for the most part this season. So, I'm going to go with the Timberwolves. I'm going to trust them. As you know, if you've listened to this podcast, the Timberwolves have been a team that I really haven't been able to trust just because they weren't the most consistent team in the beginning of the year and a little bit after that. But I'm going to go with the Timberwolves in this one. And then for the final game, we got the Celtics facing off with the Clippers. This is the second game on ESPN. This one's in LA. All right, Celtics are currently 16-6 on the road. Clippers are 14-10 at home. So Boston's coming off of a close loss to the Lakers. I'm going to go with the Clippers in this one. Right now, Boston hasn't been playing good basketball. Kyrie Irving's been playing well, but I mean, he needs Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown to step up around him, and he needs Marcus Smart to pass the ball to Terry Rozier so they could have better shots at winning games. But nonetheless, I'm going with the Clippers. They're currently 23-23, but they're favored in this one. So, I mean, Vegas usually knows right. So, yeah, I got the Clippers. Like I said, the Celtics just haven't been playing good offensive basketball, and I'm not sure how they're going to deal with a guy like Blake Griffin, but we're going to have to wait and see about it. So, to recap my picks, I got the Pelicans beating the Hornets, the Pistons beating the Jazz, the Pacers beating the Suns, the Bulls beating the Sixers, the Raptors beating the Hawks, the Rockets beating the Mavericks, the Spurs beating the Grizzlies, Timberwolves beating the Trailblazers, and the Clippers beating the Celtics. All right, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. First up, we talked about the games that happened on Tuesday night, recapped those, talked about a little bit about the Celtics' current 4-game losing streak. Second segment, we talked about Pat Shurmur going to the Giants and also the new defensive coordinator they hired. Third segment, we talked Todd Haley going to the Browns, what I think of that. And then for this fourth segment, talked a bit about Real Madrid, got some soccer talk in there. Talked about how the Red Sox really haven't done much this offseason and how I'm not sure they're going to be able to compete with the Yankees going forward. And then we talked about George Hill going to Cleveland, talked about how, you know what, they probably should need to bring in George Hill and DeAndre Jordan in order to have a chance against the Warriors. But I mean, that's like what they've lost in 5 games last season. They might be able to get it to 6 if they get those 2, maybe, but that's tough. And then we just made my picks for the NBA games going on Wednesday night. So like I said, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. Thanks for listening to the GSMC Sports Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jesse Tapia. We'll be back tomorrow as we always are, so stay tuned, and we'll talk to you later.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.